So here's the episode commentary for 105, The King of Omashu. And after me finishing 104, that means that I've finished the first disc of Book 1, the complete set. So, interesting to note, we're on to disc 2 with The King of Omashu. And yeah, this is probably one of my favourite episodes. Not in terms of anything plot-wise, but just in terms of like the humour of Avatar. King Boomy is such a funny character and epic at the same time. This is probably one of the funniest episodes of the show. Without 317 is probably the funniest, but it aims to be funny. This one has a story, has a plot, but has these jokes kind of laced throughout it, and just makes it amazing. We see that they've reached the mainland of the Earth Kingdom now, and then again we see Katara and Sokka's reaction to seeing a massive Earth Kingdom city, probably one of the biggest apart from Ba Sing Se. Given that they come from a village that is smaller than like Zuko's ship, as I mentioned before. And again, keeping some continuity from the last episode, Katara and Sokka realize that Aang has to kind of keep a low profile so they don't attract the Fire Nation. And then bringing that up, that he's 112 years old. And then I have to compliment Zach Tyler Eisen, the voice actor of Aang, for that amazing kind of just kid's version of an old man's accent. It's just so well done throughout. He plays the role perfectly. And given that this is like pretty much his first role ever as Aang, it's just massive credit to the guy. And here's the introduction of the Cabbage Merchant, who will appear in multiple episodes. Again, like Foamy, becoming a fan favourite. We'll see him multiple times in this episode. And we're going to see something to do with the Cabbage Merchant in Korra as well. Something to do with his legacy. And that is just a perfect, like, kind of old man, completely sells that guard. And then the name, Bonzu Pippin Paddle Opsicopolis III. And just the way that kind of Katara steps in, instantly in on the joke. Sokka, not so much. Completely sells it to the guard. And just how Aang came up with that name so easily. And Aang, again, taking advantage of the situation. Now we see like earthbending for like the first time as well. Opening those massive gates, which sort of foreshadow the massive walls of Ba Sing Se, which are even bigger. And here's our look inside the city, which Avatar always does well. When they enter a new city, the animation just stunning as usual. And again, they use the kind of postal system to show off the city even better. And here we're introduced at the start of the episode to Aang's friend Boomy in a flashback here. And like if you focus on Boomy as a character, you will instantly kind of recognize him as the king that we see later. But I remember, especially me, for the first time, I didn't notice it because I was sort of focusing on Aang. But then, like, as I rewatched the things, it's so obvious, that snort and stuff like that. And we just see how much fun Aang had as a kid. And how he is still pretty much the same way. And then they're petrified, and Aang, it just takes the most fun thing ever. So he's kind of like, this just complete natural bravery that he has. Just he doesn't see danger in anything. And once again, the music perfect. This shot here, just to use kind of slow motion perfectly here as the cart comes in. Just the reactions of the gang as the kind of soldiers flinch a bit. It just like in what is like less than a second of time. And like Qatar just says, use the Airbender to get us off this ride. And Aang's just like, oh yeah, that'll help us go faster. And then it's just Aang's character, playful, perfect. And then here we do see Aang use his airbending to like save them from like a death-defying fall. And here's another one of these shots where like the cart just bounces like through less than a second, just destroying something. As we see the reaction of the kind of residents. We see that they're wrecking the town. There's the cabbage merchant finally in with some healthy cabbages. Ruined once again. And then here we get the introduction of the King of Omashu, which we do not know yet is King Bumi, but as I said before, if you were looking closely at young Bumi, you can like, instantly tell it's him. I think that was the line that cemented the cabbage merchant in every Avatar fan's heart. We see that Bumi sort of notices Aang immediately. And it's just to build up here. Throw them a feast! And they are just kind of absolutely stunned. They have no idea what this king is. They're kind of instantly kind of concerned with this mad king. And he uses the kind of meat, using that question to Aang to kind of further kind of make sure that it is Aang. He would know from earlier from there as a kid that Aang doesn't eat meat. Oh, this is probably my favorite joke in the whole series. Kangaroo Island, I hear that place is pretty hopping. And then the little kind of cough sound effect there. Because it is a kind of cringeworthy joke, but it's just amazing coming from Boomy. And then once the final kind of nail in the coffin that Aang is an airbending, that Aang is Aang to Boomy, is there. That he's an airbender and he knows that he's the Avatar. But he actually wouldn't know from before. And then just the way that Boomy once again uses that like amazing name, Pippin Paddle Opticopolis. And just Aang's reaction to being discovered. Don't run with your spears. And then just these clever jokes throughout. Let us leave. Let us leave. Just Boomy is just absolutely amazing. And then just this kind of interaction between that guard and Boomy. Just showing that like Boomy pretty much is no threat to them, but he's absolutely mad. That was once bad. And then just that music that plays there, it's just perfect for the kind of madness of Boomy. I'm even more concerned given how crazy Boomy is. And then we see Momo likes Sokka and Iroh likes his food. And mentioning again that Appa is 10 tons, further cementing how epic he is. We see the kind of little animation error in that the guard catches the staff from the very bottom. Boomy's amazing purple ensemble. And then just little jokes like that. You've passed the first check. You've passed the first test. But not a deadly one. And I just sort of loses it with him. This is a really serious situation for Aang, but like Boomy's just kind of joking with him as we find out in the end, just testing his skills. And then just a kind of like joke that they make of this creeping crystal that it's actually just like kind of rock candy. It's just like absolute madness from Boomy. Just as you can tell, I'm a massive fan of Boomy and everything he does and says. And then we see the tests are all kind of related to how, the mad genius aspect of Boomy. And it's just this kind of crazy waterfall over a ladder suspended over like all these spikes. Aang just kind of flies head first into it. Immediately trying the obvious thing. I'll climb the ladder. It's just how cleverly designed the tasks are throughout this. I like Aang nearly killed here. Then we see Aang tries another attempt. He tries using the kind of waterfall. He knows he's gonna get like kind of sucked down with the waterfall, trying to just get as much momentum speed as possible. But no. And then Aang realizes that like the spikes are the solution, and uses his airbending to propel it together. And then just to kind of contrast between Aang and Boomy in this episode, Boomy just does not consider this a serious situation really at all. Just funny completely the whole time. And Aang, this is to save his friend's life pretty much. And then we get like probably like one of the first non-hybrid animals in the whole series, where it's just like what it appears to be just like a regular rabbit. And then here's Boomy's pet, Flopsy, the gorilla goat, who Aang just here realizes is the actual thing. And this sort of gives Aang the hint that like, wait, do I know this king, sort of? The way that's so friendly towards him. This episode is just crazy in an amazing way. Just the little animation thing there of the gorilla goat Flopsy, is its leg kind of like out of control. Again, like the character development of Aang through this episode is just he learns he he learns to kind of to remember the mad genius aspect of Boomy. Don't like just fly head into the situations. Think about them. That's what Boomy does here. And like Boomy realizes here for the third test that Aang has realized that he has to do something different to win the challenge. But Aang is too smart here, tries to be too clever, and chooses Boomy when in fact Boomy knew that he was going to choose him. And like this is even more incredible given that Boomy is 112 years old too. But he's actually physically 112. And he's like, as we see here, he's one of the most powerful earthbenders we've seen. Until Toph. As we know from Boomy and Toph round 1, that it's a draw. No take-backsies in my kingdom, just some more epic lines from Boomy. And then, once again, I say this every time there's a fight, contrast of styles. Here we have air versus earth. And we see earthbending very rooted, and then airbending very defensive, dodge, avoid and evade, as Boomy says himself. And Yenichi kind of used the waterbending tactic of kind of like using your opponent's strength against them to beat an earthbender, really. As we know, air and earthbending are kind of the opposites of each other. So this is the complete opposite style for Aang. As we find out in Season 2, he struggles with earthbending a lot because of the kind of philosophy of airbending. He always tries to avoid stuff. But he has to beat Boomy here, he has to sort of try and face him head on, use the better power of Boomy's earthbending against him. And we see Aang here realize that like he can't just kind of avoid, evade, use his increased movement against Boomy, using his attacks against him there. This is Boomy's whole plan for these challenges. Testing Aang to see, is this kid, will he be able to bring balance to the world again? And here Boomy goes for the like massive stone lob. Aang sees this coming, makes the kind of tornado, completely just sends this flying straight back at him, and there wins the fight. Well, you know, you call it a tie here because he's holding a rock above his head. One of the only serious things that Boomy says throughout the episode. And then there's this thing there kind of collapsing into the ground and appearing right up next to Katara. Even like quite serious, he is still kind of fun at heart too. Aang still doesn't realize it's Boomy. Sokka. And it's just like you just kind of laugh to yourself. The question is, what is my name? And then, as I said before, if you'd been paying attention, you would realize that it is Boomy. Young Boomy, older Boomy, look the exact same. Again, that cough appearing there for a bad joke, Rocky as an Earthbender. And then Katara's reaction to that. It's like, okay, we'll save that one for later. And that's what Aang has learned. Not everything is straightforward. You have to think about it from like the kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi, what he says, from a certain point of view. Open your brain to the possibilities, same thing. There's the kind of snort that confirms that it is the young kid from earlier on. And then just the kind of literary thing, just like they grew up together, but Aang was in ice, so he hasn't like aged the 100 years. And again, there, Momo appearing in what when we should be looking at the main characters of Bumi, Katara, Sokka, Aang, Momo there eating once again. And here's the one time that Bumi is really serious. Fire Lord Ozai, the kind of first mention of him as the main enemy of the series. He kind of cements to Aang what he has to do. You have to confront the Fire Lord, Master of all four elements. By the Avatar cycle, Aang knows that water's next, then earth, then fire. And there's the kind of beginning of Bumi's obsession with Momo. As he said in the finale, there's someone very important missing from your group. Where's Momo? Like, he just has this weird obsession with Momo. And then the episode ends with my cabbages, which is just amazing. Okay, so that's been the commentary for 105, The King of Omashu. Next is 106, Imprisoned, which is probably one of the kind of least amazing episodes of season 1 and probably the whole series, but it is still an interesting episode. Our kind of first look at like how much the Fire Nation has been affecting just regular Earth Kingdom towns, and like it really gets straight through to them how regular people have been affected by the war, and that's the main thing about that. And then just a little thing there. This episode is animated by Dior Movie, which is the second animation company after JM Animation, which do all the main episodes. They're like important episodes.